let's keep this ball rolling and bring in Republican strategist and chairman of the Fort Bend County, Texas Republican Party, Bobby Eberle, and Newsmax contributor, Republican strategist Luke Ball. Bobby, I mean, come on. Republicans have been talking about cutting PBS funding for what, how many decades? It took President Trump and Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune, to get it done.
You're right. Now, don't get me wrong. There's real money involved here, but the symbolic victory here after decades, that I've been involved in politics, to actually get this done is tremendous. This was one of our things, along with like going after the Department of Education because it's so wasteful. But PBS and NPR, they deliver nothing but left-wing news, a left-wing perspective. You see it in polls. You see it in analysis of their stories, of their programming. So to have this be a major part of the bill, I think is fantastic. I mean, with online, with streaming services, people can go to AccuWeather or the Weather Channel and get these alerts. I believe there will be no problem with that. But getting rid of these programs and taking that first step to cut waste, fraud, and abuse is a major victory for the Republicans.
Yeah, Luke, this is yet another victory for the Republicans, for President Trump. So in terms of the midterms, how will this affect that, as well as where does the GOP turn its attention to next in terms of policy?
Well, first of all, the arguments that Murkowski is making and that many Democrats are making, as I said before, are so disingenuous. The thought that whenever you have a weather event that you're going to rush over to the radio, if you have a radio in your home, and try and tune the dial in to find the local. I don't know what I would tune to if I were trying to get NPR right now. It's kind of like funding floppy disks for kids in schools today. It's outdated technology. It's not a solid argument any longer, and we have to move past it because now they're just an echo chamber for left-wing media. But your question about Republicans and what we do moving forward, one of the reasons the president, I think, is so frustrated at the Epstein story is that it has sucked a lot of oxygen out from the national wins that he has gotten on the national stage. You see, every time that he slams the Epstein files, he's posted on Truth Social all of the wins that he's gotten, whether it's the economy or immigration or legislation through the House of Representatives. He is sick and tired of people getting drawn over here because the Democrats used that as a weapon last night on the House floor, if you watched any of the floor speech, and tried to pull away from the tasks at hand. So I think we have to get back on message, because as we head towards the midterms with the American people, it's not what have you done for me, it's what have you done for me lately.
Yeah, and to your point, Luke, I mean, we had severe weather here recently, and I mean, this is what gave me my alerts. I also have a radar on here,
Yeah.
so yeah. All right,
You
so
didn't
Bobby,
rush over to your typewriter. You didn't pull out your floppy disk or use some of that like old dated technology. It's so disingenuous.
I might have been listening to albums, but that's because they've become cool again. All right.
You're so trendy, Mark.
Yeah. All right, so Bobby, I do want to go to this story. It just won't go away. Jeffrey Epstein. All right, take a listen to Jamie Raskin when asked about why Democrats didn't actually make an issue of this or release the information when they were in office.
The congressman, you could have gotten that from 21 to 25 when Democrats controlled the DOJ. Why? It was a crisis then. It's a crisis now. Why didn't Democrats call for it from 21 to 25?
So, I mean, you have to go back and look specifically at particular prosecutorial decisions and what was taking place in terms of the other cases. So I don't know.
Yeah, that pretty much just means, Bobby, we don't know, but it's good for us politically, so we want to make a big deal of it now.
Right. There's a whole lot of ums and ers in that response. And you see that from a lot of the Democrats, that the media were actually asking these Democrats good questions about why didn't you bring this up? And they had no response. I mean, their response is because now we're on the attack. We see so some of the MAGA base, myself included, I admit, that's a little frustrated with how this is going, mostly from the messaging angle, because we could message this as a good thing for the American people to get this information out because it was promised. But because of the messaging, the Democrats have seized on it, and they're so disingenuous. They're so fake. They don't care about these trafficked women, these underage girls that were abused, which I think is a main part of the story. They see this as political opportunism. They're jumping on board, and it rings so hollow. I just want to get the facts out, and hopefully that's what we get.
Yeah, but I think the general public disagrees in terms of the way in which the media is handling it, and it's actually helping President Trump, because if we take a listen to CNN, their polling expert, you'll hear otherwise.
I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started.
Luke, your reaction?
Yeah, I don't remember the president having this as a core issue on the campaign. When I worked on the campaign, we traveled across the country. This was not one of the main focuses. And I'll have to remind people that Twitter is not real life. But as I was saying in the first block this hour, I think we have to understand exactly what the president wants to do here as well. He made continuous reference to the Russia collusion hoax. He made reference to Comey and Brennan. And I think in the full context of his remarks, if you package that together, you can see very clearly that it appears as if all of the files or the details that were presented before him that went through the last administration raised some concerns. Is everything in this dossier legitimate? As I pointed out before as well, you remember the Steele dossier, just how much falsehoods was in that, maybe a couple half-truths here or there, but by and large, something that was paid for by the DNC, paid for by Hillary Clinton, packaged together and used as an opportunity to open the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. We don't need to be putting out falsehoods to the American people so that conspiracy theories can continue to run wild on this issue. He wants the truth out there, which is why I'm glad he's made clear direction to the Department of Justice that we have to get all of the truth and not have the falsehoods out there.
Yeah, I think it also points out that influencers don't maybe have a lot of influence.
Yes.
All
Good
right.
point. Luke Ball, Bobby Eberle, thanks for joining us.
So let's bring in our political panel, Kira Davis, host of Just Listen to Yourself with Kira Davis, and also Bobby Eberle, chairman of Fort Bend County Republican Party and host of 13-Minute News Hour. Good evening to you both. Good to have you on. Kira, well, you heard Alana's package. Yeah, I mean, Mexican street lighting, I have no idea why we would have foreign aid having to do with that. But this bill, it's on the president's desk. Republicans say they say it's necessary to rein in government spending, clearly. And it also, as Alana was talking about, cuts federal support for NPR and PBS and affiliated stations. I guess bad news for Daniel Tiger's neighborhood and all things considered, but life will go on. And it sounds like this was pretty necessary. What do you think?
I think it'll be fine. I want to explain. I think everyone's going to be fine, first of all. Let me say that for the top. But I want to explain a little bit about how the NPR and PBS funding works, because I don't think a lot of people understand this. It's a giant Ponzi scheme. We haven't needed to do this in the first place. NPR is the federal agency, or the federally funded agency that gets the money from the government. But then they don't just use that money for programming. All of those little stations across rural America and your cities, those stations buy programming from NPR, and then they also pay NPR to carry their programming. It's just they take the funding from the federal government, then give it back to the entity that takes the government from the federal government, and then they take more money for. It's just this giant circle. So we haven't needed it for a long time. It's just another job factory. You know what I mean? Like Congress is really good at that, just making things to keep people employed. By the way, I have appeared on PBS several times over the years, and they never call me anymore because I was the only woman on that news program who refused to say that boys could be girls. So they never call me.
Well, there you go. Okay, Bobby, at the same time, just talking about this bill, the president also signing another major piece of legislation, crypto legislation, the so-called Genius Bill. It's the first major cryptocurrency bill to ever be signed into law, and it's focused on making stable coins more mainstream. I got to be honest with you, I've never heard of a stable coin. I mean, why is this a big deal? And what are even stable coins? Walk me through, and our viewers who don't have any idea what that means.
Well, yeah, this is a really good move, and let me just start with, as the world is moving along, and you saw the rise of Bitcoin. Regulations and taking control of this is a major thing. But one of the things that came out that was very important was defeating this effort for the central bank digital currency. That would allow you almost in a China mode of tracking every purchase, everywhere you go, anything you do with currency. That to be defeated was very, very good. So there's a lot of good things coming out of Congress right now. The rescission bill was great. Just keep in mind one thing real quick, that DOJ identified some $175 billion in cuts. This was $9 billion of that. This is what excited some of the electorate, is getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think this is a great first step, and hopefully there's a lot more to come.
Yeah. I want to get to Colbert and I want to get to Epstein as well. Okay, the juicy topics as well. Kira, let's talk about Stephen Colbert. So he announced last night CBS is canceling The Late Show. Executives say the quote-unquote agonizing decision was just financial, all right? But one thing we've seen, ratings have really gone down in recent years. And it just seems like, I don't know if you agree with this, people are getting tired of entertainers getting so political. They're entertainers. Stop with the politics.
Yeah, I think Colbert is the perfect example of that. You know, he started out many years ago on The Daily Show and he was really funny. And then that spun off into the Colbert Report. And there was that's why we love The Daily Show. They were equal opportunity offenders. But Trump broke many people in this country. And he broke Colbert. And I think he broke the late night TV format as well. And they deserve to be broken. They have missed out on the funniest, most entertaining president this country has ever had. Donald Trump should be on every late night show all the time. Then their ratings would change, I believe. But this is just a reflection of their opinion of the American people, which is you are too stupid to understand what's funny and what's fun, to understand what good information is. We're going to tell you what to think. Worse than that, we're going to tell you what to laugh at. I think the American people responded with their feet. They left late night TV. It's about time they did this. This has nothing to do with Trump, other than the fact that Colbert and his crew have decided to alienate half the country. So, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, I was looking at an interview with Johnny Carson. It was on 60 Minutes. He was being interviewed by Mike Wallace, and this goes back, it had to be back in the 80s, maybe early 90s. And he talked about the dangers of entertainers like himself who've been asked, why don't you get into serious issues? And he said it's dangerous to do that. He said you get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import, and maybe it does, using that using his role to do that. But he said it's a dangerous slope to go down. Bobby, I want to shift to the Epstein files and the ongoing media firestorm over, the Epstein case. President Trump has directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to, quote, produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony about Epstein and release it to the public. First of all, I wonder if she could do this. And ultimately, what will come out of that? Will that lower the temperature? Will that dispel some of the, the ongoing conspiracy theories? What do you think?
Well, I think it actually depends. I think you have to get a judge to unseal those documents, and then it'll depend on what comes out. I mean, there's a significant portion of the MAGA base that, Epstein represents a lot of things, and one of those is the lawfare. It is going after the big and powerful that seem to be protected. And so this is something that we were expecting, something that we were promised. The left is somehow adopting it now, which is, I find it interesting. And Trump's firing back on this Wall Street Journal hit piece, which was just a ridiculous piece. But I do hope they make progress, and I do hope they get the messaging right, that these are loyal members of the MAGA movement that just want to see justice not only against these people, but for the victims. I mean, if people are in jail for child sex trafficking, there are the victims and there's the perpetrators. We need to get the perpetrators and make sure they pay the price.
All right. Kira Davis, Bobby Eberle, have a great weekend. Good to see you both. Kira, I love the earrings, by the way. Love them.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Thanks,
right.
John.
Thanks, guys.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.